It's the autumn. Right. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, or whatever it is, wherever you are. Thank you so much for being here. I knew there was something about this event and I couldn't quite twig what it was. And then I realized about 10 days or so ago, I remember that it was around about 6 months since disappearing off to Mumbai, which, like, for me personally was a massive, the whole lead up to that. And then the ultimate experience in Mumbai was a big turning point in my life, massive, like huge. I just want to mute everybody just for a second. How do I do that? Oh, if you guys could just check you're on mute, that'll save me. Oh, mute all. There we go. Cool. So, and I put on Facebook, I'd love to do something to kind of go, whoa, it's 6 months. This has been amazing. This is really interesting. Here's what I found. This is what looks like it's going on for me. This is what I'm seeing. All that kind of stuff. And then I just couldn't find a slot in my diary to do it because lots of stuff going on with other groups and programs and building my own practice and all that kind of drive. So I was kind of like, well, I'll try and find a slot, whatever. And then the idea for this came yesterday and it was really strong. It was like, no, this would be a really cool thing to talk about because in the coaching school, in Kush's coaching school, and what Steve Chandler shares, getting to full is like a really big thing, like a really cool thing to do for all sorts of reasons, which we'll talk about in a while. So, like, the energy to do this came really strongly yesterday, and I posted about it, and people responded really quickly, which is awesome. Thank you very, very much. That's amazing. Then I posted some insights about it today, and Steve very kindly commented on it because I tagged him and started sharing with a bunch of people. And so the little entourage started to expand. And then whilst I was preparing over yesterday and today, I suddenly realized that yesterday, when I had the idea, was the 26th of August, which was 6 months since I took off for Mumbai. Like, how cool is that? It just was. And the 27th today, I think it's 27th for everybody in time zones here, actually. I don't think we got anybody into the 28th yet, was the day that I landed. It was the day that I landed in Mumbai with Angie and played Try and Book a Cab at the airport, which was a tremendous game. So it's just so interesting how that intention was there, but I couldn't quite work out how to do it. And as it turns out, like, it's played out anyway. We're here. So this is kind of like a multi-celebration of 6 months since the most amazing experience in Mumbai and everything that led up to that. And then the excitement of still creating Kibbe Coaching 2.0, although I think, as my team will testify, it's about Kibbe Coaching 2.3 currently is roughly where we're at. It's like different iterations of Dave keep unfolding as I keep studying, keep learning, keep seeing the simplicity of what's on offer, the power of what's on offer, and really starting to get to grips with this being thing. Because each time I start to think, oh yeah, I'm starting to get a feel of that, I go back and I watch Steve or somebody else talking about it, and it's like, oh, hang on, he's saying that, whatever. So when I was thinking about, like the content and what to share this evening and what we can all talk about, because it's not just going to be me talking. Initially, I thought, okay, well, I'm reading The Ultimate Coach, and I committed to do that by the end of August. That's part of the coaching school. I said, I'm going to do that and commit to do that and write my own vignette. And that will be done quite comfortably, as it turns out. Got better at actually sticking to what I say I'm going to do and doing it. So I thought I could go to that. And then something pushed me towards watching Steve's talk, his presentation for the Ultimate Experience London back in 2022, which I wasn't at. In fact, I didn't even know it was going on. So I was in a separate reality at that point. And I started watching, and I just started having pages of notes, like pages of notes of just gold and gold. And I'll just share a few of them with you because I just think they're really worthwhile while we settle into it. But these are just some of the things that I wrote down, and there could have been so much more. I just haven't quite got so good at writing while I'm listening at the same time. But here's what he said: the first state of being is to be gracious and acknowledge other people. I just love that. That's just such a beautiful thing to do. You know, and as he says so many times in that talk, when we acknowledge one person, we're acknowledging everyone. It's just an acknowledgement for all. So I loved that. He goes on to say, you want to shift the world, start looking for the great in other people. Like, as coaches, there can be nothing finer than that being an intention for our work, an intention for any call, whether it's just a, can I help you, an intake call or whatever. I think it's just beautiful. And it dawned on me at that point, and that's when I knew that I was going to use what I was picking out of that talk as at least a platform to start for us to talk this evening. Because it dawned on me then, the whole thing about creating full is an inside-out job. It's a state of being. Full is a state of being. There is stuff to do. There is no doubt about that whatsoever. But if we come into it at just the pure level of doing, and we haven't taken account of our service, of our state of being, of our understanding, our doing will fall flat. I know it. I just know it. It isn't all about the doing. So I was like, and so I wrote down, your clients are inside. Your full practice is inside you, waiting to come out, waiting to be delivered, waiting to emerge and be birthed into the world from your being. And I was like, oh, this is too cool. I'm off. That's it. I'm using this. I'm going. I'm there. I'm running. He went on to say, decide to be a giver. Receive, don't take. Hey, think about these things. Decide to be a giver. Consciously choose giving. I'm just going to give. And then receive. By all means receive, but don't take. If all doing comes out of being, and I'm being loving, what kind of doing do you think you'll do? Loving. So he's talking about the seeds of being. If we're planting the seeds, of, I have a full practice everywhere we go, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second and what that might mean, like mindset wise. But if we're planting those seeds every single where we go, that's the place that we're going to come from. Now, I'm not talking about making shit up or bullshitting anybody or lying or pretending. I'm talking about a state of being. The clients we've got currently are the clients we've got currently. But to move from where we are to full is going to come from within. That's where the gold is. That's where we want to be looking. That's where we want to be creating ourselves to do that. It's going to come from there. And then it went on. You can't trick it. I love that. You can't trick it. All doing comes from being. There is no doing that does not come from being. So you can't odds the game. If your state of being is got into need or lack or whatever, every doing you have out of that energy will be tainted. Even if you go to like the sharpest mind who spent years analyzing stuff and breaking it all down, if you're pumping out those activities from the wrong state of being, you'll either be ignored or repelled. One of the two. It's going to be really straightforward for us. And then this is where my head fell off. This is where I just exploded. Steve then said, you've already decided how this is going to be, but only always. And I was just like, oh man alive. So why was I like that? Well, last week I had a coaching session with someone who I hired, and is just an amazing guy. And my mind flicked back, and I realized that what had come out during that time, during that session, I had already decided. If I could go back in my mind took me there and went, that's the point you decided that. And I'm like, you know, when you really see it's real because it drops into your own experience. It's not just a nice story somebody's telling you or instructing you. You go, oh man, I walked in to this guy's stunning apartment in Sloane Square and literally played out what subconsciously I'd already decided. I'm like, holy eggs, this is like, you're kidding me. Now, when you see that so clearly, then like for me, the obvious repercussion of that is, right, well, I'm doing a session tomorrow night. I really want to think about what I'm bringing in then. I really want to bring into awareness whatever's sitting around in my rucksack of guff or whatever. I want to come in as clean as possible. I want to start creating who I'm going to be during that session. I don't want to leave it to chance or whatever shit might show up out of my, murk or anything like that. I need to create who I'm going to be. I've got to create this entire meeting. I've got to create everyone who's coming. I got like temperature heat excitement at this point because it was so clear to me. I saw it like literally the thing that I wanted to bring in. I decided previously. Now, I'm not saying that from a judgment point of view, whether that was right, wrong, a good use of money or whatever. The point was to see the mechanics, to see what was going on. It's like I'm living out a self-fulfilling prophecy born out of unconscious decisions which form ways of being. That's what I'm doing. Unless I become conscious about it and intervene and go, oh, no, actually, oh, hang on, that one doesn't look so useful. Well, I'm going to go and find something that is more useful then. And I'm going to be that. And if I can't figure out how to do that, I'm going to watch a video with some dude called Hardison in it or anybody else. And I'm going to borrow what he's got temporarily until I figure it out for myself, until like the Daveness of it comes out. And that took me right back to the beginning of how all this story started when I watched Steve in action on a video like last November. And I just watched him in action. I'm like, man, that guy's having fun being him. Like, he really looks like he's rocking being Steve. That looks like a great gig. Question comes in. Are you having that much fun being Dave? Answer comes in that I didn't want to hear. Not really. Oh, man, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear the thing that I'm trying to hide from everybody. I don't want the truth. That's the last thing ego wants, isn't it? Is to actually see what's going on, the truth of what's going on. But I'm thankful that I did, because it was like, well, hang on, he's saying I can do something about that. He's saying that this is possible. And then when this really hit home was the tow truck distinction. Now, if you guys have watched that, you'll understand a bit about the tow trucks distinction. But to cut a long story short, Steve's coming back from an event or something, and he's in the desert, and the car breaks down. His Porsche breaks down, whichever one it was at the time. And he knows he's got to get a tow truck, but he's looking forward to getting home. So he decides there and then, right, I could bitch about it, I could whine, I could, the garage won't have my tire, whatever, or I could turn this into an adventure. And he moves his state of being to, this is going to be an adventure. I'm going to have a great time. And if you haven't seen the story, watch him tell it, because it'll be an awful lot better than me telling it. But watch him talk about the story. So he's deciding ahead of time, this is the experience I'm going to have. Guess what experience he has? He has an amazing experience. And the guy in the tow truck is, probably a little bit taken aback at this highly enthusiastic, person, and gets involved in it and meets Amy, and they take a selfie, and they're involving the guy who's on the phone, and the whole thing plays out. Why? Because he's decided. Why? Because his doing comes from a state of being. He's opted for his state of being. And it was at that point that, for some bizarre reason, although I know it was a tow truck, every time I've heard that story, I thought of it as a tow truck, T-O-E truck. Like, what the hell would a tow truck even be? Not T-O-W. So At that point, I was caught in raptures between that and just thinking, I don't know what goes on in my head. It's a strange place anyway. But he then goes on to say, and I think this is really important in the full coaching practice thing, right? Because I'm imagining everybody here knows somebody with a full coaching practice. I must be thinking, well, what is it they're doing? What's the secret? Like, is there a passcode you have to apply for? Is it, a certain amount you have to spend, or do you have to grease enough teachers? I mean, what is it? I mean, that you have to do? And Steve says, I don't have any more talent than you. You're doing the same thing. It's just what you're doing with it. So it's not that any of us here isn't being. We're all being. It's a question of how aware and intentional we are with that gift. Now, I've heard him say on a whole raft of occasions, I don't have any more talent than you. I don't know about you guys, but I struggled with that one. It's like, well, it's a nice thing to say, isn't it? But you look like you've got a pretty amply filled basket of talent there. But no, I saw it today. No, he's simply describing the mechanism that we're all using to create what we call our own reality. He's just, if you like, pointing to the physics and then the engineering that comes out of that. I'm like, man, that's just so true. That's it. We're all using the same physics. For those of you, like me, who come through like the principles, we're all using the principles to create a reality. Now, if we don't know we're doing it, we're not intentional about that. If we're not using the principles in a way that deeply serves what we want to do, then we're just going to get whatever random stuff's going on that we've inherited from the past, from others, from what we've made up, whatever. And that was like, oh, you're kidding me. I hadn't seen that in that way. Mounted with no top, that analogy. I hadn't seen that. So there we've got it. You've already decided this is how it's going to be. Now, that's amazing, isn't it? That for every single one of us for this call, everyone's already decided at some point, maybe since saying, yeah, I want to come, how this is going to play out for them. It could be in so many different ways. Oh, yeah, I quite like Dave's calls, or, wow, I can put up with it for a while. Yeah, but I don't think it applies to me. It might apply to Steve, or somebody might be going, oh my God, I can create a full practice. I've just got to move to the state of being of my practice is full and go from there. Oh, surely it couldn't be that simple. I mean, that'd just be so annoying for all the, this is what you must do, this is what you must do, this is what you must do. It just kills it, doesn't it? And he goes on to expand and to explain this. If you have questions or comments, by the way, stick your hand up, because I'm quite likely to just keep going. So I'm a bit jazzed about this, just in case it wasn't clear. So the reason he's having such a good day on the tow truck distinction is because he's deciding how something is going to be before the thing actually happens. He's just decided. And not in some highly convoluted, complex way. He's just decided, I'm going to have the best day. Right? It's going to be amazing. And then consequently, what he does arises from that. So he's not responding reactively to what's coming in. Oh man, my car's broken or whatever. Whoa, I get to meet a new person. I get to share a book. I get to invite them to the house. I get to tell the story, whatever. He's creating. So I thought I'll play with this, because I'm doing some of the prep for this yesterday. So I decided I'm going to create the best Sunday ever today. We've had an amazing day. It's been fantastic. Seriously, we've had an amazing day. I just decided I was going to do it. I decided I was going to get a couple of people messaging me in my inbox today to talk about coaching, because I'm fullish, but I'm not quite there yet, and I really want to get there. Right? 2 people messaged me today. Can I have a conversation about it? I've just said it, and then just carry on and do the stuff that occurs to me. I decide I want to be more active in what I'm doing, so I've been posting more in every single group. I've decided I want to get back to running these because I really enjoy them. I really enjoy the learning, the environment, the sharing with everybody, the getting to know people. So doing these. Towards the end, I want to talk about the ultimate experience in Birmingham because I'd love everybody to come. I sat in India, and once I'd kind of like got over myself a bit, which only took several hours, I sat there and I thought, why didn't I enroll more people? Why didn't I get on the phone to people and go, you know, because people I know, I'm not talking about just necessarily randoms, but people I know from the years of studying stuff, being in the principles community, and go, look, there is something in this being thing that knits together everything you've learned about the formless and about the beauty of the creation, the nothing that is everything that knits all that together and then turns it into the most beautiful practical life. And it's the ultimate experience. It's the miracle of that. It's the pure joy of being. Come to it. Why didn't I get on the phone and do that? Well, because I was embarrassed, just in my own way. And in that moment in India, and I'm sure I've told this story before, so apologies if I'm repeating it. I got really upset. I'm like, I know that this can make a massive difference in some people's lives, and I'm just sitting there, wrapped up in my own, oh yeah, but they'll think I'm a bit this, that, and the other, or whatever, in my own shit, not bothering to phone people. So it's flushing out of me who I'm being. It's bringing my bullshit, which still gets me a bit choked, as you can probably hear, because it's a bit cringy, really. These are friends. These are people I care about and I love, and I know want to make a difference, and I know want to do stuff, and I know things that I can point them to help them. And what am I doing? I'm sitting on my hands because my ego might get a bruise when they go, oh, piss off, Kibby. Heard it all before. Or they might go, that's brilliant. Thank you. Whichever it is. So I'm not speaking up. What's that about? Well, that's just little me somewhere in there, whatever. Okay, cool. So I'm going to create myself. I can't necessarily drop that instantly. I might do, I don't know. Fingers crossed. But I can create myself such that if that arises, I'm going to plow on anyway. I'm not going to take my resistance as a sign to go, oh, I don't think I should contact someone then. I'm going to take my resistance as an invitation to lean more into the edge of my being, to lean deeper into service. Because the only thing we're doing, guys, is offering people something that might just change their lives. It's not like I'm offering them anything harmful. Whether it's coaching, whether it's to come to the Birmingham experience, whatever it is, whether it's to come to a webinar. And so the more that sinks into my being, the obviousness of that, then inviting people just has ego falling out of it gradually, gradually into the simplicity of, look, there's a great event, Saturday, 25th of May, Sunday, the 26th of May, 2024 in Birmingham. 1,500 people, amazing people speaking. Fiona Ross, Matt Evans, my boy Dave Orton down there, and Ankush Jain, a whole host of other people. Like, my mind's just emptied currently, so I can't list them. But more importantly, us, you, me, learning about states of being. Think what that could do for us, for our communities, for the country, for the world. Think about if our politicians actually realized and thought about who they were being. There's a thought. Anyway, Steve then goes on to say, deciding who you're being, who you're going to be, is a state of being. It's not a state of doing. I don't have to figure out what I'm going to do with this guy. He's talking about the tow truck guy. Steve, I think he was. No, that's Steve. Mike, maybe. Anyway, what I'm going to do with this guy when he gets here because of my state of being. Now take that to anything, right? Take that to a sales conversation. And how many people like sort of like cringe at the idea of a sales conversation, or rely on somebody else's formula, or this is how you do it. Well, part of the reason I know a lot of that stuff is bunkum in business is just my own background. So when I got into business, I came out of being a school teacher, a music teacher. Loads of you will know this story. I wanted to get into business because I thought it looks really cool and I wanted to make more money, honestly. But I realized I didn't know stuff. But within 1 or 2 weeks, the thing that struck me, interesting, that this ties together years later, is part of why I was useful is because I didn't know what they knew. So I couldn't look at things the way they were looking at them. I just couldn't, because I didn't have any of the knowledge, and they were making some really rankly bad decisions, and I could question it. Yes, I got a lot of stick for it, and whatever, and whatever, and whatever, and mostly ignored right up until the point when what I'd asked and what I'd suggested could happen did happen. And all of a sudden, I went from being one of the guys, the sales director, used to call me, "What does the teacher think?" in meetings. That was how he addressed me. That's how to big up your colleagues. What does the teacher think? But then gradually, so like I get all this stuff about doing, and you should close in this way, and you should only ever say that. I get all of that, but I guarantee you, your state of being trumps all of that. In the same that wisdom trumps all good ideas. In exactly the same way. Your state of being takes care of it. And it's something so simple that we can really, really take care of. And out of that will come ways of doing that maybe no one's thought of yet. Even the most brightest brain who analyzes and breaks things and shares them, and that stuff's all cool. But the super suggestions and whatever and ideas come from beyond all of that. They come from beyond the intellect. They come from the no thing, the nothing, into something that we don't even know yet. So we can look at our state of being. And then the final one I'm going to use for this section, you're doing it every day. It's not like we're not doing this stuff. This isn't something like, oh, okay, cool. So from 8:02, I will start being. No, we've all been being always. We're being now with each other. I was going to say in how we're interacting, but I haven't shut up so far, so that's not easy. But you know what I mean? In how we're interacting, in how we're being on camera, in our attention, in our preparation, in our desire to get here, all of it, like the whole shebang, comes from who we're being. In people giving up their Sunday evening, or afternoon, or whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world, and responding and going, yeah, I'm gonna be there. Not I'm gonna do there. And I'm gonna be there. And who I'm gonna be there is gonna be support, is gonna be love, is gonna be listening, all the stuff you guys are vibing through to me with your smiles and everything through the screen. Because when one chip rises, they all rise. Same game. We're all in the same game. It's not me trying to know more. It's just me seeing these things and going, well, I want to share them because this has impacted me massively. The last 2 days have been so transformational as to be unbelievable. Just watching that tall guy strolling around, just doing his thing. He's just riffing, dropping gold bombs everywhere. I've watched that video previously and thought, yeah, that's pretty good. And made some observations about his speaking style. I mean, oh, come on, Kibby, missing the point or what? Well, I didn't quite like what he did there. I'm not sure I'd have done that. No. Look at being, get out of the doing, get out of the frame. It'll take care of itself. And if we need to learn stuff, we need to learn stuff. It's all good. Come up for air, Kitty. So back to the title of this evening, right? So it was something like, wasn't it? If my practice were full, then I. And I just wonder, I'd love to hear, like, from people if they're willing to share, like, what occurred to you when you read that? What occurred to you about what that might be like, what you might think, how you'd be talking to yourself, how you might feel, what happened with that? Hey, Dave, unmute, shoot, my friend.
Thank you. Firstly, I just want to acknowledge you for putting this on, David. Dave, this is fantastic. And I've been listening about myself because every time you say Dave, I think you're talking to me, and I love that. And you are talking to me, this statement, if my practice were full then, then I wouldn't have to worry about money. Then I wouldn't have to be so concerned about getting, having all these conversations that I need to have to fill the practice. And it's so funny because my practice is full, and the conversations have continued in the face of that the practice is full.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm noticing.
Yeah.
And thank you for helping me bring some clarity and some understanding to this way I'm being, which is, even though my practice is full, I still have these complaints or these concerns. Like, thank
That's
you.
amazing. Thanks, Dave. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. What else? What do people think there? Anita.
Yeah, I was just thinking that almost the same thing as Dave Orton, because a few months ago I was thinking, oh, if I had this many clients and this would make me feel a certain way, and it's kind of comical that nothing changes. And what sort of, while you were speaking today, is that decision is so irrelevant of what's going on around us. So whether I'm full or not, I can have the exact same feeling. And it is that decision then of who I want to be, regardless of what circumstances are. And that is the experience that I have.
Yeah.
And it's so comical that we ever think it's any other way. Yeah, so that kind of came up, and I just love what he said. I've been thinking a lot about, you and I will both be in the school starting this weekend, and even there of like, what is the experience that I want stepping into that? And I've been thinking about this in the last few days. And so when you started talking, I was like, oh, wow, this is beautiful synergy, how this is coming together. So I love that. I love it.
Right. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. Yeah. And I love that, the seeing that, we don't need to delay a feeling. We can have whatever feeling it is that we would imagine we'd get at some random point in the future, called full or whatever. You can have that right now. And my supposition is that if we're working from that feeling already, that the outcome is far more likely. Far more likely. Straightforward. Thank you. Annette.
When you said that, Dave, I thought if my practice is full, I would have so much fun and inspiration in my life. But then I thought, what does a full practice mean to me? So then I had to question, what do I want? What is a full practice?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I came up with.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, completely. Yeah. I mean, for me, I picked, I suppose I did it slightly mechanically, old school way. I picked a number, I'd quite like to do X sessions per day and whatever, just so I had something to kind of like a benchmark to go at. And then I just kind of like tossed it aside and didn't really think about it very much. And then got back to the bit that I consider to be the important bit, which is the being part. The mechanics I know to a degree, and I'm sure I can refine them over the years. That's all great, but it looks to me like the being is the key bit. Thank you. I love that. Amy.
I had a little bit of a different experience. When I think
No, that's
of,
not allowed.
it's always that way, isn't it? So when I was thinking of, if my practice was full, then the first thing I realized is, first of all, then what? I have no idea. I'm like, I always go with the flow, right? Like, I'm very much a go with the flow girl. It's like, I'm rolling with spirit. And if I'm not rolling with spirit, then I'm in hell, right? That's how I operate. And so when I'm looking at that question, the thing that came up for me was my lack of trust. Because
wow.
I trust God. I trust Holy Spirit all day long. You tell me what to do, let's go. Let's roll, right? That's my thing. I'm like, come on, Spirit, let's roll. I'm not making a move till you tell me to go. I won't do anything without you, right? Like, you got to let me know, because I don't know anything. and that's how I operate, right?
Yeah.
However, there's that next level. The reason why your business isn't going where you want it to go is because you have no idea what you want your business to look like. I don't know what to ask for because I sit and I think, well, God's got this. I don't have to worry. God has got it all, right? And clients will show up. But I'm not participating.
Right.
I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
And the thing that I realized is it's my lack of trust in myself. And yesterday when Ryan and I were talking about it, the thing that really came to me was how I don't trust Amy at all. I trust spirit. And so even when I am with clients and when I am in A Course in Miracles rooms and I am facilitating, I'm like, Amy, get out the way. Spirit, come on through. Amy's dead in that time frame. It's like, bye-bye, Amy. Here comes spirit. And somebody comes along and taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, what'd you just say? Oh, I have no idea because Amy wasn't present. That was spirit, yo. That was not Amy. And here's the thing about that. That is not oneness. That's me separating myself from spirit.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to be mindful, or we don't have to do anything. We get to be mindful of just how tricky Satan can be. And when I say Satan, y'all, I'm talking about ego, okay? I'm not talking about a devil with a pitchfork because I don't believe in that. If you do, that's okay. But I don't think there's a lake of fire down there in hell somewhere and all of that. I think that Satan is my ego, my flesh, because I've forgotten who I am temporarily, right?
Yeah.
And I tell, you know, the thing that I realized was I just need to align and be. If I am being, I am spirit, right? That's the thing that I was not completely adding in. Like, I will roll with spirit. No, I am spirit. I don't got to roll with spirit. I get to be spirit. I get to act on behalf of spirit because I am that. I am love. I am peace. I am joy. I am bliss. I am abundance. I am these things. I don't have to pull Amy out the way and let spirit come and show everybody how to be. No, I get to align with spirit, be that I am, and be that example to others like Christ was, right? I don't know if this makes sense, but this is like a huge shift for me in my mind because I've gone from the observing what spirit's doing to being with spirit, if that makes sense. So it's like
Totally.
It's me
Totally.
now. So now
I mean,
it's like, okay, how's
what I
this
hear
business
in
gonna
that,
work?
yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, what I hear in that is the shift from I'm creating myself as something that's waiting to the expression of what is. I'm creating myself as spirit.
Yes. Let me write that down.
So now there's no waiter left. This is
yes,
self-service.
it's just I am.
Yeah.
Let's go. It's here.
Exactly. I love it.
I don't have to get. I am.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks, Amy. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Morag.
Hey.
Hey.
So first thing for me was yesterday when I saw your post on LinkedIn with the title, you know, this theme of if my practice were full, then I. And the first thing that really hit me was that's what I want. So there was a real, sometimes I start to doubt it and I think, do I really want to, you know, have that, you know, that much of my time used up? Do I want the, you know, and that was the first thing that hit me was like, yeah, that is really what I want. And then I must admit, I hadn't given too much more thought to the question. Came on this call and I was thinking, oh, no, I've not really thought about this. I don't have a list of my follow the dot, and I could put all of the, you know, the usual suspects. But just as I started to listen, when people started talking and started saying their things, the thing that came up for me was if my practice were full, then I would know that I can do this. And it, you know, unlike some of the other ones where they'd almost been just the usual things to write down, that was one that I really felt.
Beautiful.
I went, yeah, that's what I would, that's would be the thing. And it's interesting because when I think back to there are times where I do know that and the action flows effortlessly and people actually, you know, I do get the old message in my inbox. And then I forget and I stick my fingers in the machine and yeah, it all goes wrong. And that's my one.
I love that. Yeah. And that's such an invitation. I mean, that's what I hear is such an invitation to be, I can do that as a state of being.
Yeah.
And just create from that. Because as you say, I mean, you said it, when you create from that, magic. And then there's a shift of creating to, I can't always do that, or whatever the shift is. And you know, I've got my fingers in the thing, and that's created too. So that isn't happening somewhere else. That's our habit of creating that way too. It's one of the most common miscreations, I think, is the flip-flop. Today I feel like it, you know, and tomorrow I don't feel like it, or I felt like it yesterday but not today, as if that's a happening coming inwards. No, that's an invocation outwards. That's a pattern, and it'll have been learned somewhere. We'll have just like picked it up somewhere. Someone will have modeled it, or we thought that's how it's done, or responding to a feeling or something. But it's always going this way, always. And the moment we twig that, that's why I loved what Steve said about I don't have any more talent than you. You're doing the same thing. It's just what you're doing it with. So if what we're using is this creative power to go, some days I do, some days I don't, then that will be the experience. So consequently, then it will look true. If we work from the state of being of, I know I can do this, even just saying it to yourself, you have to say it to yourself every morning or however many times. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know I can do this. It's not a lie. You know you can do it, because half the time, as you're saying, I know I can do this. So we're just upping the being into conscious creation. I love it. Thank you so much. Thanks, Maureen. Thank you for representing LinkedIn. It's great. Awesome. Who else? Oh, if they're there. It's not compulsory.
Hi, Dave. Sorry.
Hey, Liz.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yes, I had when I thought about it beforehand, I had a sort of bit of resistance that I haven't really thought about. You know, I hadn't really realized that the word full sent me into a panic.
Awesome.
Actually sent me into a bit of a panic, which was like, oh, you know, that sounds like, you know, how would I be able to manage that sort of thing? And I think it's probably a bit like Kevin, in that we connected the other day and we're both, you know, doing this side by, I'm sure lots of you are, but, you know, doing it side by side with a whole other job. And so while it's what I feel that I'm best at the moment, and I'm, you know, and I'm seeing a lot of people, it's you know, it feels like that jump to actually becoming a full-time coach or being full, and that's the jump, because that means up the day job to me.
Well,
so that's the bit
only if you create it that way, right?
well, exactly. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, but the panic that came up was, you know, oh shit, how would that look, and how would I manage, and you know, and would I get bored with myself?
Wow.
Yeah. Well, bored of saying, because actually sometimes, because I'm doing, as I've explained to you, I'm doing these 30, you know this, but I'm doing 30-minute quick coaching for people with anxiety and depression in the NHS. I do sometimes, because I'm always seeing people in an acute phase.
Just for everyone else's benefit, Liz, you're underplaying this slightly. Liz is saving lives with people who the system here in the UK can't cope with, who are suicidal, and having massive success in them no longer wishing to end their lives. So I hope that's okay to share, Liz, but it is pretty, because I remember when I was chatting with Liz, she said, I'm not sure if I'm having impact. I was like, whoa, hang on. You just told me you're stopping people from wanting to kill themselves. That sounds like impact as far as I'm concerned. So it's amazing what you guys are doing. Incredible.
Yeah, well, I think it is, in a way, I think it's it's a funny sort of coaching because, like, most days there are 6 suicidal people,
Mm.
and they get, I don't know, my time for 20 or 30 minutes just to try and give them a few things that are going to hopefully move them off that track. And, you know, the follow-up, because it's free and it's in the NHS, and it's, you know, it's I don't feel as if I'm always moving them all. I'm not managing to get them to an, you know, I'm getting them off a bridge or something, but I'm not getting them to an amazing state of being because because I'm not coaching them with a contract and saying
Yeah, I
I'm
got
gonna
you.
coach you
Yeah,
for 6
yeah,
months and things like that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
sometimes I do find myself boring myself with saying the same thing
yeah,
over and over again.
yeah.
So anyway, that was I had more fear-based reactions, I think.
But I think that's just so rich to see, because I mean that can be playing out for any of us, you know. And if that's hidden, then we're always going to have resistance. So we're going to take actions based around our state of being, which is I'm not sure whether I want to do this all the time, or being full scares me. So our doing is going to be born out of that. The seeds we plant are always going to be born out of I'm a bit scared about this and whatever and whatever. And then that's what will generate the outcomes that we see. And then we go, oh yeah, I am a bit scared. That's the feedback loop, missing that we're the ones that created I'm a bit scared in the first place, or I'm bored. You know, usefully today, I reminded my 17-year-old who's just about to head back to school in a week or so's time that his indifference to his work was internally generated. He thanked me in an interesting manner for my advice. I think his suggestion was save it for your clients, Dad, or something like that. I think it was a little less subtle than that, actually, as I recall. But anyway, some of the Kibbe tact has obviously rubbed off genetically. But I love that. Yeah, brilliant. That's amazing. Thanks, Liz. And thanks for everything you guys are doing. It's incredible. The fact that you're able to do that in an environment where technically you're not sort of doing that, I think is brilliant. That's awesome. Who else? What else we got? Kevin.
Yeah, just following on from what Liz said there. For me, working as a GP in the NHS, you know, I would say that my NHS practice is so full that it's you know, it's like a fire hose into a bucket. It's so full you can't cope with it being that full.
Yeah.
And the idea of having a coaching practice that is full to the same respect as their GP practice scares the living daylights out of me. I wouldn't want it to be like that.
Yeah. You might want to use a different word or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's what came up for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. It's just so good to see, though, isn't it? Because even in the innocence of using language, you can, you know, one thing you're saying where somebody else goes, oh yeah, I love that. The connotation for somebody somewhere else can be, yeah, but full to me means like impossible to manage. Like full to bursting or overflowing. And well, I definitely don't want that. So yeah, recalibrating any of these things for ourselves and what we would like it to mean for us, and the impact that has from the point of view of being is just so important. So thank you. Yeah, that's a really good distinction. If the word full is a trigger, then best not use that one. Wonderful. Anybody else? These are great.
Yeah, I can go next.
Oh, we got three in one go. Hang on. Alison, and then we got Bev, and we got Farah. I don't mind. Yeah, you put your hand up, so that's very disciplined. So I think you should go first. It's the school teacher in me, guys. Come on. How are you?
Good. So is that me? Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Thank catch up. Okay. Dave, pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
I'm actually in the school.
Yeah.
Acacia School in the Hut, but I haven't met you yet.
Yeah.
I just want to say this. I saw it late tonight and just jumped on, and it's just wonderful. Love the spirit of what you bring.
Thank you.
The humility there, the fun, the curiosity. as we journey this, and just what everybody has shared has just been brought a lot of thoughts and questions and insight.
Great.
If my practice was full, then I guess I would be a hell of a coach. And in the sense, you know, what I was thinking of, become a millionaire, not for the £1 million in the bank, but for what it makes you to put the £1 million in the bank. So if your practice was full, again, gauge them what your parameters of what full is, you would really have cut your teeth to hone your skill as such.
Wonderful.
But there was just so much in it tonight. It's great. I was thinking of that. It's almost like as you said, you have to go there. Think about who you are, who you have to be that future person, to have the practice full, and then bring that person back today and start living that now.
Yeah.
You know, and not chase some feeling you would expect, like chasing a rainbow. You know, you already are it. You already are to be it.
Yeah. I love what you said there. You know, be a hell of a coach. That's a great way to start each day, isn't it? Who am I being today? Hell of a coach.
Yeah.
What a cool state of being to come from, and then to see what would come out of that, to see what the body would do moving from that form of commitment. Like, as you say, who knows what's possible to create there. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. I love it. Thank you. I can't wait to meet you on Friday. Be cool.
Yep.
Really good. Thank you so much. Bev. And then Farah.
Hi everyone. Lovely to be here, and thanks, Dave, again for this opportunity.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
To partake. And for me, it just brought up a whole lot of things. Really, it was like I would be having fun. I'd be confident, but it also got me to question kind of what kind of practice I would want, or what kind of clients I would like to go with, be coaching. I mean, I just kind of opened up that sort of space of kind of dreaming and getting curious into that space of, you know, what would a coaching practice could be like, you know, and what does full look like? I mean, you know, I was like thinking, well, how many clients would that be, or how many programs would that be? But it was also then this opening up for what level of client would I want? You know, what level of coaching would I want? So it was just playing with a whole lot of
Brilliant
of things that I hadn't really thought about.
Oh wow, it's amazing. I love that you've done that.
You know, that I hadn't even thought of those possibilities really. I started questioning, well, what would those possibilities be? What could they be? I mean, Steve's got $200,000 clients, you know. What would 5 of those look like, kind of thing? And would that be a full practice?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. You know, so it was just
amazing.
really thinking that doesn't mean that it's got to be 8 hours a day full, 5 days a week. It could be a whole version of things, of what I considered full. You know, does
Wonderful.
full mean a bank balance, or does full mean number of clients, or level of, what does it mean?
Yeah. Wonderful. And you get to play with that and decide it all. On the $200,000 thing, I always think a really interesting, like for me, way of thinking about that is to find the $200,000 mark in the person who's sitting opposite me. Like is to find the thing that has such value for that they'd be willing to transact that. Like to go so deep into finding their gold that they're it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think that, and I think it was, I don't know where I picked it up somewhere about that commitment, and commitment is kind of linked to value, you know, and it links into what you're saying there, is that if I have a $200,000 problem and you click on that, it's a no-brainer for me to commit to pay the $200,000.
Yeah.
You know, so it was just another way of looking at value, of like when you're selling somebody or asking them, whether you're asking them for £100 or £200,000, it's that level of commitment you're looking for.
I think I mentioned recently I was having a conversation with somebody who wanted, originally they contacted me about wanting like a bit of mentoring, a couple of times a week. And we were kind of chatting or whatever. And the guy said, yeah, but of course, if you could put £2 million on my business, I'd be happy to give you $500,000 of that. And I was like, sorry, what did you just say?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like an interesting conversation. That doesn't sound like once a fortnight mentoring and haggling over the hourly rate. Do you know what I mean? That's like,
Yeah.
so we're now looking to have and he got a bit scared actually, which I think was quite interesting. He was like, oh yeah, I'm not, and there was a bit of backtracking, which is kind of fun, but I'm like, I was on it. I was like, oh, you want to have a £2 million conversation? Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting to kind of set the thing and say, okay, right, I mean, what if you worked for free until you got that and then you got your $500,000? I mean, it's quite interesting. I mean, it could take 6 months. It could take,
Well,
I don't know.
got out of, totally. How I got out of teaching into business was to go and work for free for a week. I said to them, give me any project, anything, and I guarantee I can add value. I mean, there was a fair bit of blag in there, but I had a lot of that when I was 33. I don't think all of it's gone away. But do you know what I mean? It was just like, yeah, I'm fairly sure I can add something to this. And they did. And I did. And I said, the only condition is, if you like what you see, will you think about offering me a job? And if you don't, the only thing I've lost is a half-term holiday. That's it. That's how I transitioned.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Beth. Brilliant.
Yeah, Steve would just like, if someone said, I need 200 to add it, I don't know, I think one of his clients wanted to move from a few $1 million to $1 billion business. Not a few million, but to $1 billion. I mean, if you took a percentage of that, it's an interesting idea, being paid in percentage.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know Garrett Kramer used to be paid on percentage of earnings of some of his clients, professional sports people.
okay.
Yeah, completely. A sort of lower level retainer and then percentage of prize money.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts
of my practice was full. I mean, there's a whole different maybe revenue model.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Bev. Awesome.
Okay.
Just slightly conscious of keeping the time. So thank you. That was brilliant. Farah.
Hey.
Hey, she's in the UK.
I've been all around for the last 1 hour, so I apologize. I was off video for some time and I was fully here. And now wherever I am, I find that people have gravitated here, so I don't know what it is.
Awesome.
I hope you don't hear all this noise. So I want to say that, that statement itself about being full, it's what evokes in me. So the first thing that evoked in me was my life is really full. I have a full life. And when I think about that, my eyes light up, because this is what I've created for myself. A life where a business and a life where I do what I love. I can work from any part of the world and enjoy various aspects of it. But when I think about, my coaching, then my eyes can widen a lot more, because that's what I want to see. How can I have a full practice? And I realized when I was listening to you, Dave, today, that I probably have to do my math. The math first about what does full look like for me? How much time do I have? And how can I create that number and then make it and then work from there?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that, and I think I have it in my mind, but I haven't done it in a way that helps me to really feel it and say, this is where I'm going to be focusing who I'm being, in my business. So I guess for me, it's about looking at that balance of what full looks like for me, which is how I live my life, and also how I balance my career, which is both in facilitation and coaching. So a lot to think about. And
wonderful.
I really loved what others were contributing to this space. So it's expanded me as well. So I want to say thank you.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Farah. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Alison.
So the question, how will it feel? What was the question? How will I feel if I
what would you think? What would you say to yourself?
The answer that came was, then I'll know that my course with Dave worked. So it's your responsibility.
Oh, great. Well, thanks for creating that.
Yeah, what I noticed from that is similar to Amy. I quite often give responsibility for what happens in my life to the universe, to wisdom, to whatever we want to call it. And I don't actively participate. I respond, but I don't actively create, because I believe that what is for me will come to me. So it's interesting that I've been looking at it from that way round rather than that way round.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one as well. It was just when you said that there, it occurred to me that turning over to the divine or spirit or wisdom or whatever, you know, awesome, cool, fantastic, and you can be operating in a state of being of actively not responding to the obvious cues. So you can be at odds without realizing it, actually. So the cues can be there all the time, but you've got a logic running subconsciously which says, yeah, but these cues are going to be looking this way. Now, if the cue shows up that way, it'll be discounted as, yeah, that's not wisdom, or that's ego, or whatever. So it's slippery, this one. Like I think there's a lot less waiting than perhaps ego would like to believe. It's a lot more immediate. So like, you know, what's the Abraham Hicks thing, isn't it? Ask and it's given, or speak and it's created. It's way more immediate than anybody would like to, you know, because sometimes I think when we speak things, we're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to speak it, but I just wouldn't mind several weeks to like get used to the idea, versus, oh no, you just created it. In the interview I did with Dominic Scafidi, he talks about that, actually. He talks about when we speak something into being, the whole thing is formed instantly, because there is no separation. So it can't be created at another time, because time's just a construct to the finite mind. There isn't somewhere that's really called another time. No one's ever found it. No one's found yesterday or tomorrow. Essentially, this is the Big Bang, because it happened now. There hasn't been anything else. There's only ever been now. And then this apparent shift of content within that. So have a listen back to that. He talks about this really, really well, actually, about the fact that when we speak it, it's like, it's there. Which is why I've been testing it, because it's kind of fun. People are going to write to me and go, okay, I'm really interested in a coaching conversation. Maybe they weren't sure, but maybe they're now like, oh no, I've heard enough. I want to do that. So I'm creating it. See what happens. We're going to have an amazing day as a family on a Sunday. Tomorrow's going to be even better doing the stuff we're doing. Creating it. And it'll appear. It'll appear. It'll appear. Now, that can be daunting. So we can be using I'm waiting as a nice dodge mechanism, because it sounds really cool, right? I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. Yeah, it's going to come. Yeah, it's going to come. Well, it might be a lot nearer than you think. And that can be just like a little bit edgy. So we want to go into those edges all the time, because it's being created instantly in full. Everybody who's invoked it this evening, you've just created it. You've just created a full coaching practice. Even if you're not totally sure what it will look like, Spirit's way too clever. It'll have sorted that out for you anyway. Now there's an interesting thought. But thank you. That was cool. Awesome. I'm conscious of the time, because I actually put an hour for this, and we've gone to 1 hour and 10. So I don't want to hold anybody up from their Sunday evening. So let me just give you a couple of things, apart from saying thank you and acknowledging everybody for giving their time and being so open and sharing, and your enthusiasm and everything. These are a couple of things, again, from the talk by Steve. He said, I am my commitment. Nothing outside me shifts my being. He suggests, instead of managing your image, manage your state of being. Stop judging you. If you're at war in you, there will be no peace in the world. What happens when you reduce the judgment in you? You increase the love. You are creators. You are never not creating. Be amazing to see you guys, as many of you as possible, and as many of people you know from all of your communities as possible in Birmingham next year. If anybody wants links, details, just drop me a message on Facebook and I'll happily share them with you. Apart from that, have an amazing rest of Sunday. Thank you so much. I've had so much fun. See you again soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Great to see you, Jeff. Great to see you all. Bye, Dave.
Take care. Thanks, Dave.